What's up, everybody? You're listening to the SignatureCAST, where we talk bodybuilding, business, and everything in between. I am your host, William Blazeski, and today I have two very special guests, Josh Maslag, one of our trainers here at Signature Fitness, and Rory Gallagher, the head strength and conditioning coach at FDU. And which campus was that?
The Florham campus.
Florham campus. So thanks a lot for coming on today, guys. So we're just going to talk, moving, how to properly lift. We're just kind of let this thing roll. A little bit of your background, Rory, if you don't mind. How did you get into the whole strength and conditioning thing and plans for the future?
So I graduated from TCNJ in 2016 with a bachelor's in health and exercise science. Didn't really know what I wanted to do up until about my senior year. I was heading towards physical therapy, and then I just kind of decided that was a little too boring for me. No disrespect to anybody in physical therapy.
Yeah,
it's just...
You want to deal with the athletes.
It's dull.
Yeah.
It's dull.
Same thing for me, too.
I was just at PT Tuesday, so I understand it's important, but it's just not for me. So I ended up interning at Lawrenceville Prep, which is a high school down in Lawrenceville, New Jersey. Did a semester there. After I graduated, I started my own LLC, worked at a private facility.
Oh, cool.
Wasn't making the money I wanted to, so I had to get an additional job, worked as a part-time strength coach over at Center Court Sports Academy in Morristown. About 2 years ago, I was promoted to the director of athletic performance over there, where I dealt with all of our team sports. And again, I very much enjoyed working with the younger athletes, anywhere from like about 7 years old all the way up to high school. But again, I was still missing something. So I interned at NJIT over in Newark for a semester. Absolutely fell in love with the college strength and conditioning scene, and I decided that's what I wanted to do. Then I got the graduate assistant position at FDU Florham, so I've been there for 2 years now. It's gonna be the end of my second year. And then during the pandemic, the old strength and conditioning coach, AJ Mott, he got a new job offer at Western Colorado as the head, so he took that. And this past semester, I applied, and I got the job. So
congratulations!
Here I am now. Thank you.
That's a big step. I mean, hey.
Yeah.
Now, are
awesome.
there D3, D2?
We're Division 3.
Okay.
Our Teaneck campus is Division 1.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. And who knows? I mean, I'm sure you could probably be involved with them in some way or somehow, hopefully,
Their strength coach, Dave Downey's a really good guy.
Yeah.
I really like him. I met him about a year ago, or a year and a half ago, maybe. He's awesome. I actually spoke with him the other day. They got a really good athletic training staff as well. So they have a really good, sports staff over there as well.
And Josh, I know you just, 2-3 months ago finished your CSCS, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
How hard was that?
It was pretty hard. I mean, it was not as hard as the ACSM EP, the exercise physiology.
I agree.
Certification. Rory has that cert too.
Oh, okay, cool.
So, the CSCS was pretty difficult. I use it mainly with my clients. I don't do strict strength conditioning stuff.
Yeah.
I dabbled a little bit in cardiac rehab, and most of the cardiac rehab exercise physiologists I worked with, they had a CSCS as well. So it's very versatile. You can use it for both.
Yeah, of course. And for anybody who doesn't know, Josh knows this. I worked at University of Massachusetts for a while, interned there, worked in their strength and conditioning department. It's definitely a different ball game when you step up from the high school to the college. I'm not sure how the step is from college to professional. Personally, from what I've heard and what I've experienced, with the college, they're the hungry guys. They want to make it to the bigger league. They want to really push themselves to pride in the school and all that stuff. So I loved it for the short period of time that I was in it. Getting up, being there. I mean, it sucked being 5 a.m, training. For me, it was field hockey. It was rough, but it is what it is. It's how the sport works. You got to train before class and all that stuff. So real reason why, Josh and I were talking the other day and wanted to get you on here is being at Signature Fitness. Josh, you see a lot of interesting.
Yeah. Well, Rory's a member here too, so he sees it.
That's right. That's right. I apologize. That's right. So you see it.
Yeah.
Do you ever get that urge to hey, bud, you might tear your pec off. Can I help you out real quick? Or
at one point I did, and then the more and Josh and I actually had this conversation. We have it quite often. The more and more I dove into strength and conditioning and biomechanics and technique, and realized what each coach has their own thing of what they're doing. I just told myself, you know what? He's doing it for whatever reason he's doing it.
Yeah.
And
I gave up too.
and it's
You
and
can just say you gave up.
I guess, but in a way, you know what? It's just like now with the way my schedule is, I got barely enough time to do what I need to do.
Yeah.
So if you want to tear your pec off, be my guest. But it is what it is.
Yeah.
I mean,
I mainly see it when I'm with clients, and I have to focus on my client. I can't jump across the gym and show someone how to do a fly better.
Yeah, I remember even before I started working here, just trying to be, a good member. So I saw some people, you walk up to them, and then they give you the death. They want to punch your face off.
Oh yeah, because you embarrass them.
I mean, yeah, even when you're like,
They
hey,
feel
hey,
embarrassed.
bud, like, I don't help you out real quick, and they're just like, they don't.
Yeah.
They
It's
just
a hit to their ego.
flip you off.
Yeah, it is, for sure.
I mean, and that's the big thing, like, for example, like, Rory, I don't know if you know, I've competed in powerlifting. I know you have.
Yeah,
Once or
briefly.
twice.
I know the both of you
Briefly.
have.
Yeah.
Briefly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And just the importance of form when you're doing your exercises, the squats, the bench, the deadlift, the hang cleans, clean and jerk, snatches, all that type of stuff that you work with, I'm sure, on a day-to-day basis. It is just, I think with this whole Instagram craze of everybody getting fit, which is wonderful, more people in the industry.
Right.
But they don't understand the legwork that has to be put into place to start lifting these maximal loads.
Correct.
When you have these athletes come in, how much of it is, getting to the basics, teaching, the hip hinge and all these types of, to us, which would be very simple concepts. Are they really spatially aware yet, or where's?
Yeah. How do you start that? Like, where
does your program start?
Yeah.
So basically, in the college setting, you could have athletes who have 0 barbell experience, or you have guys that have been doing it for quite some time. I generally start them out as they have never touched the barbell before.
Gotcha.
And if they squat where their hamstring is touching their calves, they have an upright torso, they keep tension, great. I know that, okay, I'm good with this one. Make sure their couple reps are good, move on to the next one. There might be some where it turns into a good morning squat, then you got to change it up a little bit. Typically, I'll start with a goblet squat, an RDL, an overhead press, some type of row or pull, and then throws, bounds, and that's really it. That's the gist of it as of
That's
when
the
we
meat
first
of the program.
right when we first walk in.
Yeah.
And then obviously there's other variables such as like what myself and the sport coach have talked about as like the end goal for the season. What is my training goal for those athletes as well too? If there's an athlete who just can't get a squat, then I'm not going to squat them.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, they need to be better at their sport,
Yeah.
not necessarily the weight room.
Yeah, and there's so many other things that you can develop that power, that
100%.
drive,
100%.
even just the hypertrophy aspect of it. You don't need to squat as much as I love it.
Yeah.
Exactly. I'm biased.
I'm super biased.
Right. But at the end of the day, I have to understand that, like, hey, if a team comes in and the coach says to me, hey, look, our team doesn't like squatting. Is there something else that you could do? My answer has to be yes, because truthfully, it is yes. So if I can get the same training effect with the Bulgarian split squat, why not?
Yeah.
So now I'm getting the unilateral benefits as well.
Right.
Plus, they feel more confident in that exercise because it's not the barbell back squat. Then I could argue that's gonna have greater transfer than something else.
Much greater turnover for sure. When you're struggling. I mean, you see that with your clients too, I'm sure.
Yeah, definitely. With my clients, there's some clients or there's some people I've worked with that just like they don't get it.
Mm-hmm.
Like it doesn't matter how many times you try to tell them how to do a specific movement, they just can't do it. And usually I don't even waste any more time. I just switch right to a different movement pattern.
Mm-hmm. So
like if they're having a hard time with like a bent over row and they think it's a Romanian deadlift every time they do a rep, I'll just scrap it and just move on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it happens all the time. Even at the highest level, I'm noticing, like, I don't know if any of you guys are into strongman at all, but one of them from the U.S., this guy's named Robert Oberst. Big-time football player, right? He swears he personally believes that deadlifts are pointless unless you're competing in powerlifting or strongman.
But explain that.
So the reason why, I mean, it makes perfect sense. So for him, it's the risk to reward ratio. Right. It's not that it's a difficult lift to learn, but I think we've all seen everyone very quickly wants to lift very heavy weight. So he would much rather do, a Hex Bar Deadlift
Okay.
Something that generates that same relative power.
Yeah, so something that has a higher ROI. for
Yeah,
that sport.
exactly. And you're not risking blowing out a disc like this guy did on Saturday.
That's right. You did.
Yeah, I did.
I remember him saying that. He said he'd rather do a power clean or something like that.
Interesting.
But again, in our field, it's got to be, well, do you feel comfortable coaching that power clean? And does that athlete feel confident coaching that power clean?
Yeah.
Because if you have a freshman female athlete who comes in and you're like, oh, we're power cleaning today, they're going to look at you like, what the hell are you talking
freaking nuts.
You're like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, they don't know what that
You know what I mean? So, and back to what you were saying about the Hex Bar Deadlift, I'd rather go to that.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, it is just, you put them in the Hex Bar and it's really hard to mess up.
Yeah, it's your stats.
Especially if it's the normal
neutral
handle
grip.
one, not the low handle. It's really hard
It's
to
very
mess up.
simple.
Yeah.
So
that, like,
you can transfer that over right to jumping.
100%.
Yeah. It's true.
Do you guys use the what were they called? Those test mats?
Jump mat?
The jump mats, yeah. I loved those things. Those things were fantastic.
I used them at NJIT. They had them over there. We had one, but it's broken now. I like it a lot.
Yeah.
Now, it helps me gauge a couple things. It helps me gauge whether or not we're improving with the program that I put in place. And in season, I think it's extremely useful because the counter movement jump shows how fatigued they are as well.
Yeah.
So if we had a game Wednesday and we have a lift Thursday, and I'm coming across that these athletes have 3, 4, 5 inches coming off their counter movement jump, then it's like, okay, then that's how we start our lift.
Yeah.
And now I know that maybe my intensity for the day should be a little bit lower.
Yeah, you don't want to work them into more of a
lower.
deficit than they already are.
Because then we got to plan Saturday too.
Yeah.
So like when it comes to in-season, off-season, strength and conditioning in-season second.
Yeah.
As much as like I want to be like, oh yeah, strength and conditioning
No,
all the time. It's secondary
no,
to
of course.
to skill acquisition.
Well, and I think, we were talking earlier about the, what was the guy's name from Alabama that used to be there, the coach? Cochran. Great guy, but, sometimes these strength coaches, like you said, turn into a little bit of a cheerleader. In a way. They have to at some point, but it's how
What do you
far.
mean? What do you mean? I'm not aware of that.
So all right. So he was known as I think they called him the voice. The guy was like, he looked like he snorted a line before every single workout.
Right.
Super, super amped up, which is awesome.
I think I know the guy you're talking about.
Yeah, you've definitely seen the video.
Okay. All right.
But
So that's what you mean by cheerleader.
Yeah, you like he said, like Rory just said, in season.
Yeah.
You're maintaining these athletes. Yeah, if you can improve them a little bit, that's wonderful.
Right.
But the last thing you need is them injuring themselves because you wanted to test them on their 1 rep max.
Yeah.
The coach would probably kill you. But there's that. I think there's that fine line of let me amp these guys up, let me get them going, let me get them in the right mind state, versus let me push them to the point where they're going to be ruining their game day on Saturday or whatever it may be.
Yeah, exactly.
So when you're in season, how many days a week are they training?
It depends on what myself and the coach decide, in addition to their class schedule and game schedule as well.
Okay.
What we did last year with some teams, it would be building up. So like preseason, we'd go 3 days, and then we would drop a day when it came to actually game time. So what I like to do was, let's say, so in our conference, we play Wednesday, Saturday. So preseason, we would go Monday, Wednesday, Thursday for lift. And Wednesday was our hypothetical, like, high intensity day. I was trying to match the intensity of game day so that their bodies were ready for that day.
Yeah.
And then obviously Thursday would be more of our power speed day, fast reps, lighter intensity.
Almost like an active recovery.
In a way, like a dynamic day.
Yeah, dynamic. Okay.
And then Monday would kind of be our moderate day where we feel it out and see how they came back from Saturday game, Sunday off, Monday. I never did lower body on Monday for my athletes. That's, in my opinion, starting them off with like, all right, you just played on Saturday. If you lost, the last thing you want to do is come in on Monday morning and squat and see me being like, all right, so we're squatting today. They don't want that. So it's more, Monday is like more of a feel good day in terms of we'll bench press. We'll do an overhead press. We'll do some lower body stuff, but it'll be like a goblet split squat or something very low intensity in lower body just to get them moving, or a front foot elevated split squat, something like that. Wednesday be our high intensity day. I was a big fan of the safety bar split squat. During their high intensity days, that was also our sprint day. Thursday was our like dynamic squat day. So that was what I did in season. And once game day started on Wednesdays as well, we would drop that Wednesday lift day, and then we would just go Monday, Thursday for the rest of the season.
Gotcha. And what teams were you directly, or you do all the sports there, or you're
Currently now I'm in charge of all 19 varsity sports.
Oh wow,
That's so crazy.
Yeah.
It sounds like a lot of moving parts.
you have guys,
During a pandemic.
guys under you though, right? Like they're
Currently-
helping you out with your programming or anything, or is you're playing a one-man show right now?
One-man show right now.
Ooh, hello.
So crazy.
So that's why you didn't want coffee
no
today. You probably had like
No interns or anything?
Not at the moment. I
Oh
think
my
well
God.
the pandemic
that's insane.
the pandemic's not making that very
Are
easy.
you sleeping?
Well, right now I am. Come, when we're allowed back on campus, when the athletes are allowed back on campus and we're playing, might be a different ball game. What I'm actually more nervous for is the fall, when hopefully vaccine goes through and this dies down, fingers crossed. That's when it's going to be a little bit more hectic.
Yeah, you're gonna be back into the normal swing of things.
Right, because like right now,
That's crazy. No interns, no nothing.
Yeah.
well, the thing was I was a GA prior, so that GA cycle still hasn't finished through yet.
Okay,
So I can't get a GA till the fall.
Wow.
gotcha.
Interns now it's a little bit difficult because, and I agree with the campus that or our administrators that we don't want to put someone else at risk, and we don't want to put our student athletes at risk either,
Yeah.
or our staff. And I agree with that. And right now with the schedule that we have, because we share a weight room with the student body, which isn't fun either.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so we share a weight room with the student body. So going forward, we're gonna have to split it to student athlete times and student body times.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
you know,
that is difficult. That's definitely difficult.
right, and you can imagine what I see in my office when it's there's no teams in, and you see the student bodies too. But anyways, but like this semester coming back, it shouldn't be crazy because of that limitation where I'm gonna have to put a cap on how many days we could lift for each team. I say that in-season teams get priority.
Yeah.
And then we work our way down from there. So basketball's got their priority. They're done. They're scheduled, ready to go. Spring's going to be up next, then fall. So we'll see how it goes from there too.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So when you have someone coming in new, let's say I was a, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed freshman coming in. Let's say I'm playing. I just want to
size?
give them a scenario. What?
Your size, I'd be like, yeah, go. You should be at a different school.
Oh my God. Well, FDU has football. Yes, no.
We have football.
We do have football.
Yeah.
So I'm coming in for football.
Okay.
I'm a lineman. Blah 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 blah. All the whole jazz. Are you guys working directly with them? Do you have a nutritionist, or like you see a guy who's like got a little extra love? He needs to get his. He needs to look like Josh, but be as strong as me, without taking performance-enhancing drugs.
That's impossible.
If I do that,
That's impossible.
if I do that,
You're gonna be a millionaire.
If I could do that, then I'm going to be.
You're working
I'm
in the
gonna
wrong
say, yeah.
But,
US Olympic team, hit me up.
What's your, do you guys have like we'll call it an onboarding type of thing? Do you give them assessments? Do you test them when they come in? Do you look for their maxes or anything like that? Or are you really just like, look, day one, basic movement patterns, seeing how they react to the training, everything like that?
So, again, like I said before, it kind of goes back to what myself and the sport coach wanted to look at too. Now, if
Yeah.
the sports coach comes to me and is like, conditioning is our biggest thing, work capacity is our biggest thing, then the testing protocols are going to be based around that.
Okay.
If we have a coach who's like, I want my guys to be fast, speed test, whether it be a maximum velocity test, whether a flying 10, flying 20, 10-yard dash, whatever the case may be, that's going to be our biggest thing. Coming back this spring, I wanted all our testing to be as safe as possible because there's freshmen I haven't even seen yet.
Yeah.
And there's also returners who I haven't seen since last March.
Well, and then, these guys have had a massive amount of detraining.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
any testing that I'm going to be doing, it's probably going to be a trap bar deadlift because it's safe.
Yeah.
Pull-ups, that might be it for the time being. And then everyone's going to be starting. We're doing goblet squat. We're learning a hinge. We're going to do a trap bar deadlift. We'll go over sprint mechanics, but I'm not testing them for a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, I don't care if those numbers are their true 1-rep maxes because I'm not going to have them do a 1-rep max to begin with.
Yeah, of course.
I would probably have them work up to like an RP of 8, leave 2 in the tank, 1 in the tank. Because at the end of the day, I can't prove that your max bench press is going to help someone make more tackles.
Yeah.
So at the end, that number shows that we're heading in the right direction or moving the needle in the right direction. But again, I can't definitively say, oh, well, so-and-so's 5'10" went down 0.2 seconds. He's going to be the greatest soccer player ever. That's not true.
Yeah.
But it just gives me the indication I'm in the right direction. It shows that the sport coaches were heading in the right direction. And then that's kind of where I go about it. But day one guys that come in, we're goblet squatting. We're doing unilateral movements in terms of lower body. We're going to learn how to overhead press. We're going to learn how to bench press. We're going to learn how to pull. Keep it.
How much weight are you using for the goblet squat?
My rule of thumb is you should at least be doing 45. The barbell's 45. If you're not doing 45, then
Okay.
Yeah, kind of what's the point?
right, exactly. And
Like
that
a dumbbell, kettlebell?
we only have dumbbells, so it's
Okay.
only
Okay.
dumbbell.
Okay, I see.
Cool.
But that's like first day kids that come in, it's like you have to use a 45 because the barbell alone is 45 pounds, and if
Yeah.
we can't control the barbell, we're gonna have a really tough time.
Yeah.
Do you ever have to build up to 45? You get some kids that are like super skinny.
To be honest, yeah.
Yeah.
There are some kids that we have to, but what's interesting about those kids almost, and I don't want to sound like rude, but they almost know that they're not there, so they work so much harder
Yeah,
it's great.
than the other people, and it's
They're,
just
they're
like
proud to be
Oh,
there.
that's awesome.
it's mind blowing
Yeah.
how much more dedication they put
Yeah.
into it rather than like
Oh, yeah.
like a kid who played football and he was like good on his high school team. He comes in there and he thinks he's like
And
better
I'm
than
sure
everybody
those
else.
kids will go way farther than the other ones. Or not necessarily.
To be honest with you, like in terms of their weight room
Yeah.
adherence and things like that, yes. Now the sport, I don't really know.
Right.
But at the end of the day, like I want them to enjoy their time in the weight room, not hate it.
Yeah.
And when they leave the university, I want them to feel like they left something as well and they moved on to the next step. Because at the end of the day, like I don't think I'm going to be training anybody that's going pro, at least anytime soon.
I mean, we saw that the same exact thing up at UMass. Not saying that there's. I mean, we all know there's a difference between D1 and D3 in terms of the recruitment that goes in place.
Sports skill.
Yeah, exactly. But we'd have those kids come in, even in any sport, swimming. Like I said, I was for a short period of time the coach for the women's field hockey. We had girls that were on like the junior national team that came in, and their shit don't stink. But then when I asked them to do something, it doesn't matter. They play great. But then the girl that can't do a pull up, can't do a push up, can barely break any numbers on the 40 or whatever we're testing them on. Mm-hmm. They kill it.
Grind.
I mean, they come
grind.
in, and then you watch over those 4 years, that they really become, the captain, the top few
grind.
players. Mm-hmm. It's kind of about that whole. I think it was Dave Tate from Elite FTS was talking about his I love him too. His ACE card. I don't know if you guys saw that video.
No, I haven't seen
Maybe.
So it's a little different. It's about flipping the ACE card in terms of performance enhancing drugs and whatnot. Mm-hmm. But what's important that he talks about in there is you notice these kids. Look, we grew up in Nutley. A bunch of parents who want every single one of them, their kid's going to be the best. Right. You know what I mean? They'll put money into it.
Right.
But look, we're like, 60% Italian. They're 5'0", and they're sprinting on that field. They're so good. But, the problem is from when they're a kid, they're starting. They never develop all the skills, all the hand-eye coordination, all those types of things. Yeah. And that's really what Dave Tate talked about is you'll find the kid that never started, comes freshman year of high school, they're still not starting him. All of a sudden, junior, senior year, he blows everyone out the water because he was the one doing the ladder drills, doing the hand-eye stuff. And then, like I said at the end, then he makes it to college. Then he decides to flip that ACE card.
Right.
He's making it to the NFL. He's playing for 20 years.
Yeah.
I think we've a little bit of the whole they're going to be the best. I think that's kind of the I want to be great now approach we're seeing everywhere, not just sports.
Right.
But you see these kids that really kill it practicing the drills and all that stuff. They get older. Yep, they're the Ronaldos. They're these guys that you just, wow, oh my God, how amazing. Yeah, because he was 5 years old kicking a soccer ball with no shoes on, practicing drills, and now look at him now,
right. To go off what you just said, there's two things I want to bring up before I forget. Like the first thing was, I already forgot. The second thing, well, I remember one thing. I remember that Dave, talking about like the weight room and like how we would program, and this goes, I think, for anybody. Dave Tate said something very, very interesting on one of his podcasts. He said, if you're lucky, when you have an athlete walk into your weight room at whatever institution you may be at, that 18-year-old kid, at the most, their equivalent of training age is that of coach pitch softball.
Yeah.
And that to me resonated so. I was like, that makes so much sense. You know, at the very most, that's unless like their parent is a strength and conditioning coach. Yeah. Like, then I was like, that is like so brilliant. And that is how I go about new kids coming in.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, well, that's their peak. That's where they're going to be at right now. If that's their very best right now, if I'm being generous. So, you know, I rather be a little more cautious when they first come in and they prove me wrong. And then I can say, okay, we could progress a little bit faster. Yeah, so that, speaking of Dave Tate, he's brilliant, and I love his work.
He's amazing.
Our whole weight room is actually outfitted by Elite FTS.
Oh, yeah, we have some stuff
awesome.
here.
Yeah.
We're building, I don't know if you saw on our Instagram where we're building up the full strength conditioning, you know, kind of segment of the gym. So maybe we'll have to steal you from FDU and no, that's not gonna happen.
I think Harvey
work together.
I think Harvey did everything for Nate Harvey did everything over at FDU. He like installed everything.
Oh, cool. Yeah, no, it's just a lot of fun. That's what it comes down to see the development in someone. You know, I haven't done personal training for probably like a year now. Yeah. But even some of my clients, I had this kid Colin who was in the Air Force. No knock on the military whatsoever. I love every single one of them. Shout out to the troops, but he couldn't do a push-up.
Right.
Yeah.
And he came to me. He's like, I got to pass my PT, whatever. He already had passed it, but I guess he was on a leave or whatever. Anyway, he was on his way back. Couldn't do a push-up. Could barely do like 50 sit-ups in a minute.
He was already in the military?
He was already in the military.
Yeah, so he wasn't training.
He just wasn't training anything.
Yeah.
And
I had to start all over.
I had to start literally like, this is how you do a push-up. This is how you do a sit-up. This is how you... Posture correction was half of the, you know, the first...
That drives me
I would
nuts.
say 4 weeks. Why, you have a lot of clients like that?
No, it drives me nuts that like people pass these PT exams and then they never keep up with it.
Oh, I mean, you see that
and
everywhere.
then they freak out when they have to pass another exam or another test of some sort. It just drives me crazy. Because don't you like you pass that initial exam so that you could be fit, you know, for need be, and then you're just letting yourself go as soon as you get in. It just drives me nuts.
Yeah, it's a little frustrating. But I mean, like I said, what I was getting at though is when he finally did that push-up, like we're talking about a push-up, right? You know, all of us can do a push-up, or most of us can do a push-up. He was so pumped, and I was just like,
yeah,
that's it. Yeah, I'm like, hey man, like that's freaking awesome. Then he was able to do 10, 20, you know, whatever, however many he did. But it's the small things, you know, you gotta love those things. Especially you said you worked with some kids, you know, too. Like they're like, they soak up everything.
Yeah, and sometimes they soak up a little too much. But they're back to what you were saying. But when an athlete feels like they like did what they needed to do, it's like the feeling doesn't compare. Yeah, you know. And then when they thank you for it, you're like, yeah, but I didn't do anything really. Like,
it was all you.
I just brought you to the bucket to drink, and you actually did it. That was like, you know what I mean? Like, that's the fun part, especially like right now. This past semester, we had to do everything outside, which is rough. But when kids are coming up to you like to thank you, like that's really cool. And it's just like, yeah, I'm just doing it because I love this too. You know, and it's like you don't even realize that like this, like that you're having that effect on them. And I think that is something that more coaches need to be aware of. Not necessarily the collegiate strength and conditioning coaches, because I think most of them know that, but outsides, I'm not trying to bash anybody, but if you're a personal trainer, I think you have more of an influence on your clientele and your athletes than you realize.
Yeah, for sure.
Because they look up to you. They came to you for a reason, and it's about bettering them, not you're getting the income from them or you're promoting yourself through them either. So that's
the stigma of personal training, you know. It's like a really good personal trainer will almost mentor that client. And allow them to grow and to go through the journey.
You've said so many times it's you're not just a trainer, you're almost a therapist.
Yeah, you're almost a therapist.
You
Absolutely.
know, sometimes you're even the shoulder to cry on.
Yeah, don't get me started with that.
Yeah, you have no idea.
You're a therapist.
College female athletes,
you're a coach. You're a bunch of stuff all wrapped up in one.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. So when you're training a client, Josh, you've been training here for how long now?
Like 6 years.
6 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
I started when I was 19.
Good for you.
Yeah.
You have any clients from then or no? Or that maybe cycle through every once in a while?
No, I have one client that I started training a year after I started here, so he's probably the oldest.
Oh, cool.
I just finished with him actually right before we started this. Yeah, I mean, I've been training a little while.
Yeah, well, and like you said, it's not just putting them through the paces. I'm sure you've had the sessions where you barely work out.
Oh yeah. I mean, there's so many clients that just want to talk the entire time.
And you're like, great. I mean, hey, I'll take the money.
No, it's not that.
It's just a relationship.
You know what's funny? It's like some people might see it that way, but that client wants that.
Yeah.
They want to talk. They don't. Maybe they don't have anyone to talk to.
Yeah.
And maybe they get they don't get the best results or they don't get the best fitness out of it. But you know what? They're in the gym. They're training.
They're moving,
and maybe they get some information out of it. Maybe they get some diet advice. Maybe they get some training advice, and they're talking, and they feel better when they leave the door. And I think that's all that really matters at the end of the day, whether it's superb results or it's kind of a therapy session.
No, I totally get it. I mean, I'm sure we could all say, even in our own training, we have our. The days you come in, you don't want to train, you don't want to do this. Oh my God.
Today's one of those days.
Yep. I feel like I've been having one of those days.
I think it's all three of us, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Didn't get enough sleep, didn't eat enough food.
All the time.
Didn't have enough caffeine. Do you guys still get the, I'm sure you do, but your list of the banned substances in terms of even the supplements, can they, what they can, what they can't take, certain, pre-workouts and this thing from GNC that the NCAA says, nope.
Yeah. I think it's on our website, actually. I think it's on our athletics website. What are the NCAA banned substances? I actually just looked at it.
Oh, really?
During today's meeting.
Oh, that's funny.
It's just crazy. I mean, some of the stuff that they're coming up with now is just they'll, I don't know if it's still on there, but I remember there was certain pre-workouts that they banned, and I'm like, look, it's just imagine he's just taking a few cups of coffee. It's not going to really give them that much of an athletic boost. I mean, I don't know. I'm speaking from a different culture though. Some of the stuff that
a little bit,
some of this, some of the stuff that these people can get away with selling in the supplement industry, I guess, but it's just.
So for powerlifting, how important is proper technique?
Ooh.
Let's start there.
That's a loaded question, especially because I just herniated my disc.
Well, it happened to me too.
Well, all right. So I will say this. Thankfully, powerlifting is simple. Like we said, for anybody who doesn't know, it's the bench, the squat, the deadlift. Go to a competition. You start with the squat. You have 3 attempts, bench 3 attempts, deadlift 3 attempts. Best lift out of all of them, add up is your total. If you are not completely mentally locked in, physically locked in, when you put that maximal load on your back, in your arms, in your hands, you're asking to just tear yourself the fuck up.
Okay. What's your total?
My total, all right, technically I have a 2,000-pound total.
Hey.
That's a lot.
That's a lot. That's a big deal.
I pulled 705 to my waist, and then my hand opened up.
Okay.
So I think technically my total is 1970 or something like that. But anyway,
I could never imagine lifting that much weight.
Yeah, I squatted 825 that day. That is raw. That is raw. It's not in a suit. Squatted 825 that day. Benched 470, and then deadlifted.
470. That's just.
And then deadlifted 625 was my opener. Went straight to 705. Came up, lost the grip. So I did one of those, you kind of push your knees forward because you're trying not to lose it. Mm-hmm. And that just put a shear force on my L5 and my SI joint. Boop. Couldn't even pick up 135 after that.
What did it feel like?
It's weird. For me, at least that day, I mean, the adrenaline is going. Mm-hmm. You've competed, right? Mm-hmm. You get it. And you're just, sniff the ammonia, whatever it is. You don't feel like anything. Mm-hmm. It's the after. Like I took my
Just
belt
FYI,
off.
the ammonia is not a drug.
It's not a drug.
When you say sniff the
It's
ammonia,
it's not a banned substance.
it's not a banned substance.
It's what they use. It's what they use to wake you up when you like get knocked out.
Yeah,
on the,
when you pass out, it's like
you pass out.
I used that to clean my floor.
Yeah,
It's like an EMT thing.
Yeah.
But powerlifters adopted it.
probably not good for you though. Let's be real.
No. It can cause
Blowing out your
anaphylaxis.
CNS a little bit.
It
You
can
know.
cause anaphylactic shock. Actually, there's
Really?
very few cases, but it can.
Wow. Now I really don't want to use ammonia ever again.
Yeah. Well,
But-
you can use it.
Basically what happened was is after I picked that up, I sat down. I was totally pissed off. Take the belt off, click, and you stand up, and I was like, oh, hello. It almost feels like a like someone slowly releasing like a balloon of water.
See, for me, it felt like bubble wrap.
Oh.
Yeah, that's what it felt like. So I competed for the WABDL,
Okay.
which is a very small federation.
Yeah.
It's just deadlift and bench. I got caught up in that because there was a few people I knew, and so I competed in it. And I went to the world competition in Vegas. I placed. I did well. And then I came back and I started a new program, and I was super naive and I didn't warm up, and I was like, I thought I was invincible. Right? So I started
Yeah,
a new
we've all
program.
been there.
I didn't deload. I didn't do anything. So I come back and I'm doing deficits with only like 365. And then as I come up, it literally felt like bubble wrap popped, and then it just warm water.
Yeah, warm. So that's what
it
it's
felt
like. It's like a
And I'm holding the weight in my hand on these little tiny 25-pound plates, 2 of them stacked, and I'm holding it, and I just knew. So like I put it down real slowly, and then if I picked up one of the plates, and it felt like 100 pounds.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, oh God, what did I do?
yeah.
It was terrible.
Roy, have you ever been there?
Fortunately, no, I haven't.
You're like,
You don't
knock
want,
on wood.
You don't want to. I like spent like
I
probably.
mean, at least nothing that's been like diagnosed.
Yeah.
I've been through pain before, but
Yeah.
I've never gone to a doctor and then be like, you have a herniated disc.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mine wasn't diagnosed either.
I
but
do want to like kind of build off what you guys were saying, that how important the technical aspect is of powerlifting. I'm not a powerlifter, so I can't comment on what you guys do. I will say this though. I think that if more athletes trained with the powerlifting mentality, that technique is everything, you'd be a lot safer with your lifts.
Oh.
Oh yeah.
Oh, come on. Yeah.
And the reason I say that is because now I actually, Casey Williams actually coaches me. I started working
Okay.
with him last May, and I've learned so much from him. And everything with him has been tension, tension, tension. Always keep tension here, wherever the case may be. And it brought me to the realization that like there is no upper body lift. There is no everything's a full body.
Full body.
Yeah.
100%.
Everything is a
Everything's
full body
integrated.
lift. Because if you don't have tension somewhere, that means you're leaking energy somewhere else.
Yep.
Right.
So that's over time. If it's submaximal, you can get away with it. But as you start getting those higher percentages, and this goes when I'm doing the weight room too, you don't have that tension, you don't have that muscle activation. You're waiting for something bad to happen.
Well, yeah, you're basically taking all of that pressure and strain from the the muscles to the skeletal system, and now there's no bracing going on. Nothing's happening. Your whole core is just shot. If you're not strong from here to here, and I've had to pay the price for that because I fell under the umbrella of I power lift, so I don't have to do core work because I'm always doing core work.
Yeah.
Which is total bullshit.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not strong from here to here, you're just waiting. You're asking for it 100%.
It's true. It's very true.
We can't all have a 8-pack like this guy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't.
probably a 6-pack like this guy.
No, I like the power belly.
He's in better shape than I am.
Couple
right now.
chicken
I don't know
wings
about
that never
that.
hurt nobody.
I wouldn't go that way. But so my question to you, Will, is what would be your top? I don't like using the word core. I say midsection torso because I think it has to be like everything involved. I think the core can be from your neck down to your knees in certain aspects, depending on what you're doing, what your lift is. Now, if we're talking strictly low back, what would be your go-to exercise that you would do?
For my low back?
Let's say core. Let's just say core
For me, I've actually
simplicity.
just started incorporating this not that long ago. It's more of a bracing exercise, is where you lay down, you take like a heavy ass kettlebell,
right.
put it on your stomach, and just flex and hold it there. Don't let it collapse. That will teach you so much, such a better neuromuscular connection than any planks. I love planks. Anything where there's no flexion going on.
Okay.
Like I love pal-off presses are great.
Right.
Any anti-rotational movement. But really learning to brace your core. I think, we all think like, oh, I'm just going to crunch down. And when you crunch down, you're actually not doing what you're supposed to be doing. If you're not breathing into your diaphragm, and for anybody who doesn't know, your transverse, right?
Transverse abdominis.
Transverse abdominis, right? It's going...
Well, I think he's talking about the position.
The position of your diaphragm.
Right under the rib cage.
Right under the rib cage. It
contracts down.
Contracts downward, pulls the lungs down, can really fill yourself up with air. Once you do that, and you're pushing, it's a weird combination of pushing outward and inward at the same time. But you're creating that intra-abdominal pressure.
It's almost like you're teaching the muscles to contract the proper way.
Yes, and that's why I love putting that kettlebell there, because it teaches you to keep everything tight. You're pushing outward, yet you're keeping this hard shell, and you're creating that inner belt
and you're
around
getting that
your
immediate
spine.
Feedback if you're not doing it.
Immediate. There's no am I doing it right? Yeah, if you can't breathe, you're not doing it right. And then you sit there for maybe 30 seconds on, 30 seconds off for like 2-3 minutes, and that's all you got to do. But you're just getting that mind-body muscle connection, getting those pathways firing, so that when you then put on your belt, because you guys don't know, a belt can be these people don't wear a belt the right way.
No.
Most. I shouldn't
You're not
say
supposed to wear a belt with bicep curls?
Or lap pull down?
I'm doing a lap pull down. I need my belt. I got to keep my shirt down.
That was my jerk comment for the day.
Keep them coming.
It's true though. But the belt it's less of a
waistline
creating tension as it's a cue.
Right.
You should get it snug enough to where it's helping a little, but you're pushing against that belt. And that's what's creating that huge intra-abdominal pressure. Like, for example, I don't think I could have squatted 825. Like I'll be real, I couldn't have done that without a belt. Mm-hmm. Like, I know my beltless sleeve PR at the time, I think was like 705 or 725. Mm-hmm. And then that's when I started putting my wraps on and my belt on. But it's just, it's the mental aspect of it. Excuse me. It's there. You're pushing against it.
But think about that for a second. You said you squatted 705 beltless.
Yeah.
But think about that. That shows that you were that strong there without the belt.
Well, think about it this way. I was that strong there without the belt, and I still blew my disc out. Like, my abs were still strong, but because my form was just so slightly off when I pulled that deadlift.
So what was off?
When I pulled up, what I ended up doing is, they talk about your anterior posterior tilt of your pelvis. When I pulled up and I was starting to lose it, I started tilting my pelvis backwards, like kind of pulling this way.
So you were like bringing the bar in.
Trying to bring the bar in to get it up.
Yeah.
And that tilt, just put me at a mechanical disadvantage.
Yeah.
With that load.
With that load.
Probably what happened was you tilted your pelvis under and that exposed all the discs.
Yes.
And
Boom, no matter how
all the pressure.
No matter how no matter how braced I was, I took that disc and I opened it up this way, and it just popped right out the back.
Scary stuff.
Yeah, you could get away with that, like probably 315.
Oh yeah,
405, but
sure.
when you're putting it on the platform, you peaked for that.
Oh yeah.
So you are trying to lift as heavy as possible.
Oh, and you're also, like I said, you got the ammonia. You're going a little ape shit. You, unfortunately, what?
Not a drug.
Not a drug. Not a drug. Ammonia. Not a drug.
Because some people are going to hear that.
They're going to be like, "Oh my God, he injected ammonia in his veins."
Yeah. What is this thing that he keeps talking about?
But of course, the form starts to break down a little bit, unfortunately, and you are doing, because in that day, your goal is just to hit that maximal number. As long as you do it correctly within the rule book, you're not hitching the deadlift up, you're not using straps or whatever it is. Like if I had straps on that day, and if I could hitch, I probably would have pulled 750, 775, something like that.
So at what part of your program did this fit into? So was this like a specific max out day, or like? Yeah.
So basically, what I'll do is, if I have a competition coming up, usually I like to start my programming 12 weeks out, because I like to think that most of us who are competitive keep ourselves at around 75%, all year round. You're not trying to detrain too far. So 12 weeks out, I'll start, a short hypertrophy phase, probably for like 4 weeks. Next 4 weeks, I'll be just be working on getting that load on my back.
Right.
Really lowering my my sets and my reps. And then the last 4 weeks it's for me, it's a lot of dynamic work, really trying to just keep my speed up. Lots of bands. And I'm actually trying to relieve my central nervous system so I can peak at the end of those 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Those 4 weeks are pretty simple for me. The first 2, I'm just basically continuing the training. I'm lowering the weight a little bit. I'm adding those bands and chains. That 3rd week, I will test my openers. I've now got some, good neuromuscular, activation going using those bands. My speed's up. I'll crush it. I'll do my openers. Like, for example, for that meet, I did 725 in the bench, 720 bench. Yeah, 725. 725 in the squat.
What are you, Julius?
Yeah, right. Julius Maddox. Hello. Yeah. 725 in the squat, 425 in the bench, and I did like a 625. I think was my deadlift opener, and then I won't lift at all.
For how long?
For probably 10 to 12 days.
Okay.
The beginning of that third, the last the 2 weeks out.
Right.
I'll try to hit everything like, maybe not 12 days, probably like 10 days. I'll try to hit it like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then Saturday starts like nothing. I'm just doing movement patterns. Maybe I'll come in the next week and just put like a 135 on the bar and just get blood flow going. And I'm stretching, I'm healing, I'm eating. Thankfully, I was in the super heavyweight class, so I didn't have to worry about weighing in. Yeah. And that's it. And I'm really trying to prepare myself for that maximal lift. Because mentally, for me, I don't care what anybody says. Mentally is your mental state is the number one part of it.
So does your diet change at all closer to the
When
meet?
I was in prep, no, because I was super heavy at the time. I was on the verge. I weighed like 315. I could have cut to do 308, but I said, you know what? For the first time, I'm going to do super heavy. So, but I just really focus on eating nutrient-dense foods that aren't going to mess with my GI tract and nothing that's going to bloat me. Because obviously, the bigger your stomach is, your whole center of gravity and your balance gets off. So I try to just stay the same. So it was lots of beef and rice with like, it's kind of that stand-efforting diet at the time. Where they use vertical diet,
Yeah.
Chicken broth, that type of stuff. I don't get bloated. I digest it easily. And that's it. And then the day of, I've made the mistake so many times. We're like, all right, competition day. Let me go eat a piece of pizza. Yeah. And then I'm shitting my brains out right before my squat attempt. Yeah. I don't know. It's there's so much that goes into it.
Yeah.
To maximizing your output.
Yeah. But it's super cool science though.
Oh my God. I mean,
it's really cool.
Like, and you see it, you like you said, you don't really get to test your athletes, or you shouldn't, like you said.
I'm not going to.
You're not going to.
I'm not going to go a 1 rep max. I'll do, like I said, RP8, RP9, RPE of 9, just because, again, like, they're not powerlifters.
Yeah.
I don't need.
What's the average age?
We're 18 to 22.
Okay.
So I don't.
Just to clarify that.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. I don't need, like I said, I can't prove that someone's squat, bench, or deadlift, or whatever the case may be, is going to make them hit more shots, score more goals,
run faster, touchdowns, all that stuff.
Well, I think it can make them run faster. I know it can make them run faster.
Sorry,
I know it can. But I like the actual skill acquisition of their sport. I can't prove that, and I think it'd be very hard to prove that as well.
Yeah, it'd be different if you were coaching. I think one of the very few. Well, obviously, if you're doing Olympic lifting, thank you very much. Throwers. Took the words out of my mouth. I was a shot putter, you definitely can see the carryover. Like, they're squatting more, they're throwing further. They're benching more, they're throwing further.
So
deadlifting, not really, but
I worked with the throwers at NJIT.
Okay, cool.
And it was like every day. All right, we're doing Hatfield squats, and there was one girl who would Hatfield squat 405 for 2. It was
That's crazy.
so cool.
You know how heavy she was roughly?
I do not.
That's cool.
Like tall, short, big, small?
Maybe like 5'6". She was strong as an ox.
That's awesome.
It was so cool to watch. And it was like, it flew too. It wasn't even a struggle. I'm like, she was a freshman. She was a freshman too. I was like, oh my goodness. Like, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen. And then like, they would squat. I think they would do snatch and bench. They did clean and squat. They would have off. Then they did push press. And then they did like trap bar deadlift with bands. And they would lift 4 days a week. And every day was just like, all right, here we go. And what was cool with them is like it's the way to track them is a lot like a track team.
Yeah.
You could see the improvement right away.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
It's awesome because you like, all right, they're now throw. Obviously, like we said, it's so much of it's technique, but with the throwers, anything to make that implement seem lighter in their hands, or this like javelin, their speed, still it's not that heavy, but
to go back to what you were just saying with the mental aspect, I can't remember the guy's name, and it's gonna bug me because I've listened to his podcast a number of times. I think it's called the Power Athlete Podcast. He was a former NFL athlete. I think he's now a strength coach. And he said when he was playing, every Thursday, he would go in, I think he would hit like 405 on close grip bench press for like 3 reps. And that's how he knew if he was ready for game day. And it's like, now you hear that and like as a strength coach and you're that close to a game, it's almost like,
you're like,
I wouldn't recommend doing that. It doesn't sound like you're going to be, but like, the mentality of it, he like that's what he needed.
That's what prepped
so
him.
to take that out from him, I wouldn't do it.
He would crumble.
Exactly, because what? Because I think I need to take it out because I have the science to back it up. But the reality of it, but if he feels better going into that, then what does it matter?
He's almost testing himself too.
Yeah.
He's feeling himself.
That's what's very interesting about like the sport side of it and strength and conditioning is that mentality of the athlete is so important that it can't. As a coach, you can't overlook that.
Oh, 100%. Like I had a professor at Montclair State who I'm hoping to have on this within the upcoming weeks. Dr. Dan Gilbert, he's a sports psychologist, got his doctorate in it, and his whole class was about the strategy to life and how as long as you implement the right strategy, you can accomplish anything. And it really opened my eyes for the first time as to how important your mental game is.
Yeah.
It's a super quick story. We went through the whole presentation. This is maybe like the 4th week of class. And I'm training at LA Fitness in Clifton at the time. My max squat with a belt and knee wraps was 500 pounds. I think I was 18 years old. 4 years old. 18 years old. I probably weighed 300-ish pounds. Somewhere right around there, low 300s. And I get done with the class, and I don't know, something just clicked in me that day. It just made perfect sense the way he laid it out. And I'd pick up my buddy Rich, and I'm like, all right, Rich, we're going to the gym, and I'm going to squat 600 pounds. He's like, you're insane. I'm like, no, I'm not insane. I was like, shut the F up and get in the car. I'm going to squat. And he just kept, and I said, shut up and get in the car. And we drove to the gym. We always had a whole ritual of warming up. I skipped the whole thing. I went to the squat rack, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 plates. Did a set on each one, threw that 6 plate, and was it a 5 and a 2.5 on each side, I think, or something? Walked out 600, came down, the slightest struggle in the middle, racked it, took the weight off, and went home. And from that day, I was like, that's it. I don't care what form you have. I mean, it's obviously, like we said,
wasn't this about technique? Isn't that why?
Isn't this whole thing about having good form?
Screw your form. We made all that up.
It's all here. No,
Tension is a lie. The disc stories were lies.
It just all comes down to, they talk about the grandma lifting the car, off of the husband or whatever. If you're not here, it's just not going to happen. And that day I realized I could accomplish anything, whether it's physically, mentally, emotionally, whatever it is, if I just put my mind to it. Yeah. And I think that's where a lot of people, even our last podcast, we had Sean Clarita here, the new 212 Mr. Olympia.
Yeah.
And we talked about a little bit that if you're not there, you'll never achieve it. And it's so sad that so few people on this world will actually experience that level of dedication and mental, I don't want to call it mental fortitude or whatever, really tapping in 100%. Like, have either of you guys ever, whether it's with sports, anything, like when you're like, okay, I gave that.
We rode together.
Oh, you guys both did rowing.
Yeah.
So, you're in that, I mean, I've never been in a boat, but.
You'd probably be a coxswain.
Yeah. That'd be an interesting.
Coxswain. I wonder what that means.
You don't know what a coxswain is?
I honestly have. Is that the person that's
It's a little guy who sits.
That's the little guy.
in the-
Oh,
either front
that's-
or
It was
back.
an ironic.
That's the little
steers.
guy that like weighs like 95 pounds and isn't weighing down the boat.
Well, we both had the same coxswain at one point. It was
Did we?
Corey.
Yeah.
At the time, he weighed 95 pounds.
Look, there you go.
Did he?
Yeah.
I feel like 95 was even a little heavy for him.
No, he was. I'm pretty sure he was 95 pounds
I feel like that's even too heavy for him.
because they swapped out. I mean, I think you might have already graduated, but when I was a senior, Schmids was our coach. He took Corey out of our boat, put him in the lightweight boat, and then took Pesci and put Pesci in our boat. And Pesci weighed over 130. I think he was like 135. Didn't want to lose weight. And
They don't row, right?
That was quite a struggle for us.
So wait, you're telling me? So like their job is just to like.
They got to steer, and
They have like a special microphone in the boat that like they make the calls and everything.
it's an overlooked position. It is pretty important because I mean, there's been so many times where like you're in a race and like other bad coxswains will crash into your boat, and you're like, God,
What?
Yeah, you got to be like a brain. You have to kind of know where the current's coming from.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
You have to know like what side of the boat is pulling harder. So that all matters.
and everything is reversed to them
to what they're seeing. Yeah.
So like their calls have to mimic our brain to now adjust to that.
Yeah,
so
because we're facing the opposite side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're facing the oh my God.
stern.
Stern. Yeah. Stern. Wow.
Yeah, I didn't
been
know
a
what
while.
I
I
didn't
only
know what
know
a
that 'cause I was
coxswain
stern
was.
there.
It's been a while. We're facing the stern, so he's facing the bow.
Okay.
And so,
Yeah.
that's usually how it goes.
Well, Rory, Josh, it was a pleasure having you guys both on the SignatureCAST.
I appreciate
If
you
you
having
guys
me.
want a
It's awesome.
second,
Happy to be
just
here.
your last little hurrah on the mic. Anybody want to shout out anything you want to tell the listeners? Maybe your number one tip for staying healthy in the 2021. That's always a good one.
Consistency.
Consistent. Okay, very
Right?
good.
Just keep coming.
I think reading.
Yeah, I mean,
Low-key
I'm right there
reading.
with you on that.
Wow, way to make me feel stupid.
I mean, I just
Consistency
So-
and reading.
so I just
Consistency and reading.
Yeah.
so I just
learn
put
a
on my
lot.
Instagram since the beginning of January. Every day I'm doing like the daily stoic.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm big
So
into stoic stuff.
So it's just like
Where's my wallet?
I've gotten a lot of good feedback from it from
Right.
people. So I'm like, it's like literally a paragraph. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's a paragraph. You read it, and it tells you what to do for the day, and then you move on, and that's it.
Very cool.
So I just pulled out a coin that's like a stoic quote on it.
Oh, very nice. So that's it. So consistency, read a little bit more.
Yeah.
And for me, stop eating like a fat ass and get off the couch.
Oh, sleep too.
Oh, and sleep.
Sleep,
Yeah,
definitely sleep.
sleep's important.
Don't eat shit, sleep, be consistent, read a lot. You should just go far in life.
Yeah.
So thanks a lot for listening to the SignatureCAST. Stay tuned for more episodes just like this. iTunes, Spotify. Have a good one, guys. Thanks a lot for coming on. We'll see you soon.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.